In this video, we are going to tackle Black Beauty Story Chapter 5.
Chapter 5. The Life of a Taxi Driver. Before you read, what do you think life was like for a horse that pulled taxis in London at this time? My new owner gave me food before he rode me for many kilometers towards London. It was getting dark and the lights were on in the streets when we arrived in the big city. There were streets to the left and streets to the right, and I thought we would never arrive. Finally, however, my owner gave a call and a door opened in a small house. A woman and 2 children ran out. "Is he gentle, father?" called the girl. "Yes, he's as gentle as you are. Come and say hello," he said. "Let me get him some food and water," said the woman, and I was taken into a comfortable stable. I think I'll be happy here, I thought. My new owners were called Jerry and Polly, and their children were Harry and Dolly, who were aged 8 and 12. They were all very happy people. Jerry owned a taxi carriage and another horse called Captain. The next day, Captain went out with the taxi carriage in the morning. Then it was my turn in the afternoon. Jerry was a very good driver and was very kind to me. He took me to a wide street where there were big houses and shops filled with food. There were many other taxis outside the shops, waiting for passengers. The other drivers said hello to Jerry and then came to look at me. "He's too handsome to pull a taxi," said one. "Well," said Jerry, "I'll soon find out, won't I?" Then the owner of the taxi business came over, a tall man called Mr. Grant. He studied me as if he wanted to buy me, then he said, "He's a good horse. He will do well for you, Jerry." The first few days of pulling a taxi were difficult. I did not find it easy in London. There was so much noise and so many people. It was difficult to find my way between all the other carriages, but in time, I began to trust Jerry and I stopped worrying. At the end of the day, I was given good food and fresh water. Harry always helped to look after me and worked as hard as a much older boy, and Polly and Dolly also came to see me often. Jerry was the best owner I have had. Jerry was always kind to me, but he was not always happy with his passengers. One day, 2 young men came out of a hotel and called him over. "Hey, taxi driver. We're late for our train. Go as quickly as you can so we can catch the 1 o'clock train. We will give you an extra £1," said one of them. "I will take you, but only at our usual speed," said Jerry. Another taxi driver heard him and called out, "I'll go fast for you." "He won't go fast because he loves his horse." The men laughed and jumped into the other taxi. "I must always think about my horse," said Jerry. "£1 won't help if it makes my horse too tired to take other passengers for the rest of the day." Jerry was a very good driver, and with a light pull of the reins he drove me carefully among the carriages, horses, people, and taxis that filled the streets, some going one way, some the other. I always felt safe because I trusted Jerry. Holidays were not common for taxi drivers. Many of the taxi drivers did not own their horses, but hired them each day. That meant they had to work very long hours without a rest to get enough money. Some of them were not like Jerry and always had to work for 7 days a week. I felt sorry for both the horses and their drivers. One day, a carriage arrived outside a park where we were waiting to take a family home. The horse that pulled the carriage looked very thin and very old. She had sad eyes, which looked at me carefully. "Black Beauty," she said quietly, and then coughed. It was Ginger. Ginger looked so very different. She told me about her life since we lived at Earlshall Park. First, a wealthy man bought her, but she was not able to run very fast after her fall and she was soon sold again. She had many new owners, each one paying a little less money for her. Then I was bought by a man who has many horses, and hires them to men who need them for taxi carriages, she continued. But I'm not strong enough for this work. The men hit me hard when they want me to go faster. I work every day, without any break. You usually kick people who aren't good to you. I reminded her. I'm not strong enough to do that now, she said. Men are always stronger than me. If they can get me to work longer hours for more money, they will. I know life is difficult for them, too. They always think about their families before they worry about their horses. At that moment, a man came up to her and began to drive her away. "Goodbye, Black Beauty," she said. "You've always been my best friend." I never saw poor Ginger again. I worked hard for Jerry all year. It was not easy work, but I enjoyed helping people. One day, we saw a poor woman in the street. She was carrying her small son. "Please, sir, how do I get to the hospital? My son's ill and I do not know London." "It is 5 kilometers, said Jerry. "You cannot carry your son that far. I'll take you. You don't have to pay me." The woman was very pleased, but before she could get into the taxi, 2 men jumped up in front of her. "Take us to Regent Street," called one of them. "This woman is taking the taxi," said Jerry. "Our trip is important. We were first in the taxi. She can wait." Jerry looked at the men and then said, "You can stay in the taxi as long as you want. I can wait while you rest yourselves." Then he turned to the poor woman and said, "Don't worry, they'll soon be gone." Jerry was right. Soon the men angrily got out of the taxi and walked off down the road. Jerry then helped the woman into the taxi. We left the woman and her son at the hospital, and as we were leaving, a wealthy-looking woman called us over. "Jerry Barker. Is it you?" I'm pleased to find you here because it's difficult to find a taxi in this part of London.
Let's have a look on the glossary. Chapter 5, we have common, happening often, feel sorry for, feel sadness for someone who had a problem, in time, eventually, remind, to make someone remember something that they must do. Speed, how fast something moves or travels. Trust as a verb, believe that someone is honest and will not hurt or be unkind to you. Wealthy, having a lot of money, land, etc. Also, you have to answer the questions in your book, chapter 5, and we will send the model answer. Thank you.